Where is she? Well, let me tell you. She's somewhere between an adventure and a dream, where she can belong to, believe in, and vibe for days. Where the Mississippi runs east to west, where quirky mashes with Heartland Modern, where grit and grow are in the DNA, where creative energy flows, where good people and good ideas go a long way, where there's always the unexpected. So, where is she? QC, that's where.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name's Denise Hanitka, and I'm a public relations arsonist for Mindfire Communications out of LeClaire. And that basically means that my job is all about connecting our clients and the Quad City community to the places, the people, the ideas, and the messaging that they love. And today I'll serve as your MC for Visit Quad City's annual Destination QC, with that same purpose. Today we're connecting you to the information and the stories all around tourism and giving you the inside scoop of what's to come here in the Quad Cities and from the team over at Visit Quad Cities. So to start, I'd like to offer some thank yous. First of all, a big thank you to our DJ, Josh Gellerman. A huge thank you to Scott Mullen and his team here at the Vibrant Arena at the Mark for hosting us. And a huge shout out to our lead corporate partner for this event and our presenting sponsor, the Quad Cities International Airport. And hey, as you make your holiday plans, please don't forget to make busy season the easy season and fly MLI. So let's get down to it. What is today all about? It's about you in this room. It's about the people and the partnerships and the bold personality of our community that make it so special. And it's all about the destination marketing and management that powers our region's quality of life and creates economic development opportunities. So over the next hour, you're going to hear from all of those people who are paving the way for the opportunities for this community to continue its prosperity. At Mindfire, we love to tell our clients that the best brands are built from the inside out. And it makes sense, right? Because we can't get other people to recognize the Quad Cities as a must-see riverfront destination unless we all truly believe it deep down in our bones. And so today you're going to hear from people who really embody that belief in what we can become because they passionately believe it themselves. Fair warning, you're going to hear the T word a lot today. The T word is tourism. And we're really proud to talk about tourism because we're going to change the idea of what you think tourism is. So tourism, you probably are thinking, okay, that's got to be the family of four who's on a cute little road trip and it's spring break. Or maybe it's the couple who's experiencing a fun night out together. Sure, it's those things. But what it also is the business meetings, the conferences, the sporting events. It's so much more than an individual family's experience. Tourism is the things that bring great groups of people to this community. It's the Viking Mississippi. It's, of course, the John Deere Classic, but it's also the NAIA Women's Golf Championships coming in 2023 and 2024. And it's the 2024 National Coca-Cola Collectors Club Convention. So today you're going to hear all about that, this big picture of tourism, how tourism drives economic development. Did you know that tourism supports 8,000 jobs in this community? That's a lot of jobs. And you're going to learn about why we think of every single visitor who comes to the Quad Cities as a decision maker and a potential investor. You might be wondering if now is even the time to be talking about tourism. There's a lot of things going on in our community and in our world. But we're going to ask you to think again because it is the time, and I want to assure you today, this program is going to prove to you that this is the time, and the Quad Cities has never been more ready. Because the one thing that the pandemic did show us is that we need travel. We need to gather and we need to experience new places. And in particular, we need to experience places outdoors And Dave is going to talk about that a little later in the program. But the point is that there's so much momentum in the Quad Cities right now that we're ready to capitalize on. And that's from the development of the Bend in East Moline. I just love this shot. I think that's so cool. The new I-74 bridge, that was a huge moment, but just look at how it's opening up opportunities in Moline, and it's already reshaping downtown Bettendorf. It's the Arts Alley project and new investments in downtown Rock Island. It's a recently announced pump track for cycling enthusiasts in Silvis. It's an expanded new event venue with incredible Mississippi River views in LeClaire at the Mississippi River Distilling Company Celebration Center. It's the transformative new event venue in the TBK Bank Sports Complex that's going to enhance sports tourism. And a special shout out to Iron T Golf, our friends out there who are just starting construction on a fabulous new entertainment venue there. It's also the place where you're sitting right now. It's the brand new naming rights partner for our arena that is locally based with Vibrant. And so when you put all of those things together, you see that these are all the things that are building our brand from the inside out as this place called the Quad Cities. And it's a place that we're proud to live in and proud to work in, and a place that we're going to encourage you to really start bragging about. So today we hope that you will raise your glass, that you will toast to tourism and celebrate some wins with us tonight, and know that there are so many more that you're going to leave here talking about. Together, QC, That's Where is happening every single day, and it's happening thanks to you. Thank you. And so it is now my pleasure to introduce the board chairman of Visit Quad Cities and the executive director of the Quad Cities International Airport, Ben Leischner.
On behalf of the Visit Quad Cities Board of Directors, I really want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I wanted to start off by recognizing my fellow board of directors. If you could please stand up. Thank you for your commitment to our mission, vision, values as an organization that promotes the community from within. Also, I don't want to lose the opportunity to also recognize the Visit Quad Cities professional staff and team. The board is grateful for the expertise and firm belief that we can make the Quad Cities one of the best places to live and work in the world. So please stand and also be recognized. Also, on behalf of the board, I do want to recognize, we've already led into it, but recognize Dave Harrell in leading such a fantastic and skilled team. The board really appreciates all you've done, Dave, over the last 4 years in really taking the reins and leading us as not only an organization, but also as a community. We have so many other partners in the public and private sector that we would love to recognize, but we can't name you all by individually be here for a lot longer than an hour. But we really appreciate that you are aligned with our mission and our vision, and we thank you for your ongoing support. It's been a few years since we've come together as a community to really talk about the positive outcome that tourism has on the Quad Cities, as well as in our current state, but also looking forward. We look forward to sharing some brief highlights from fiscal year 22, but more importantly, we want to discuss tourism's relevance on our community's goals. Visit Quad Cities is a public trust. Our mission is to serve our community by enhancing our quality of life here in the Quad Cities, something we believe that is critically important to the vitality of our region as a whole. Tourism is an important pathway toward economic development. Unless you were fortunate enough to be born here, all of us, including me, started out as visitors. Our community has a shared goal of growing, and tourism is an important method to achieve that goal. Tourism has helped shape our region and will continue to have an impact because the revenue generated by new and repeat visitors is significant. Tourism creates opportunities and helps us share our unique Quad City story with a global audience. We must continue to prioritize tourism, continually invest in destination marketing and destination development, and come together as a team to make a difference for our region. The best way you can support Visit Quad Cities is by taking an active role in supporting our mission and advocating for your community as a destination. Again, thank you for joining us here today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Denise, back to you.
Now, of course, you don't have to get on a plane to experience and to travel and experience all the great places in the Quad Cities. You simply have to follow the trail. So in the morning, you check in at one of 35 coffee destinations on the QC Coffee Trail. And then when it gets to be happy hour, you hit the Ale Trail, which takes you to one of 18 different microbreweries, an industry that is just exploding in the Quad Cities right now. These are the ways that Visit Quad Cities is coming together to connect you to the community and then create something fun and interactive with all of our visitors. Just watch.
At Visit Quad Cities, we're all about people, partnerships, and personality. It's where we promise lifelong memories and authentic experiences, inspired by the energy, culture, and positive Midwestern spirit. It's what defines us. It's what makes us. And it's what we're giving to the next generation.
Same as it ever was. 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 Water dissolving and water removing. There is water at the bottom of the ocean. Under the water, carry the water. Remove the water at the bottom of the ocean. Water dissolving and water removing.
And so now I'd like to introduce Dave Harrell, President and CEO of Visit Quad Cities.
Thank you, Denise. Who doesn't love the Talking Heads? What a great way to kick this off, right? Thank you for joining us today. We're so grateful that everyone is here. I do want to give a shout out to our board of directors, again, our amazing team, our certified tourism ambassadors, which we just launched that program. We currently have 58. We're hoping for many, many more. We've got some former board members in the room, some past chairs, and everything that we do is centered around our values. And our values are centered in people and partnerships and personality. I also want to thank and recognize Amy Ziegler. Amy is with the Iowa Tourism Office and runs Travel Iowa. She's here all the way from Des Moines, right? She brought the weather, so Amy, thank you for being here. Unfortunately, Jane Kimberly with the Illinois Office of Tourism couldn't be here today, but she sends her best wishes. I also want to thank Ben. Where did you go? Oh, you're right there, right in front of me. Our board chairman, and certainly the incredible team at the Quad Cities International Airport. Appreciate your investment and sponsorship today. So I promise, I know that I can be a little bit long-winded, so we're going to move this thing through. Denise, we're not going to be an hour, I promise. But I think it's important to have this conversation, and to have this conversation today. And so every time we have a discussion about tourism, I think it's important to note what our approach and what our philosophy is to how we look at it. So it's really beyond just a transactional relationship with visitors. It's something, not only it's about economic development, and certainly tourism is a growth engine, but we talk about things like quality of place and quality of life and vibrancy and belonging, and all of these things that are, I think, at our core and so central to what we do, and then also just kind of galvanizing civic pride, right? I think we all want to be proud of the community that we live in and experience and do the things that we want to do to make it the best that it can be. So this is really a crucial story, and it's a crucial story for crucial times. As David Byrne of the Talking Heads said, same as it ever was in the video, I think the question that we all need to ask is, do we want to remain sane? And I think that's the fundamental philosophical question for today as we think about how do we want to position ourselves for the future. So, today we'll share some highlights of FY22. We're not going to go into everything. You should have a destination impact report at your tables. We will make that report available to all of our stakeholders. It will live and breathe on our website. We firmly believe in being a transparent organization, and we want to share that with everyone. But I think as we think about goals and things that I think are important for us, we want you to understand our organization. We see that as a huge educational opportunity for us to further advance our story. The seal that you see is really important. And it's really important because of this. One, it's really hard to get. Two, there are about 800 destination organizations similar to Visit Quad Cities around the globe. And we are only one of 200 that has the seal. So we're very proud of that. What that means to you is this. We've got a very organized and professional staff that knows what they're doing. We've got the right board guidance to point us down the right path that we need to head. But tourism, there's a lot to it. It is not transactional, and the more that you can do the things to earn that seal, the better off you're going to be. When we talk about our organizational structure, we really try to frame up three things. I think our pillars are grounded in what we frame as tourism development, destination marketing, and visitor experience. That's really our focus areas. And what you're seeing is a representation of what we call our river pilot. So these cornerstones are how we organize our business and what shapes the direction that we head. Now, Visit Quad Cities has clarity of purpose. We've got clarity of vision, our mission, our value set. We know exactly where we are going, okay? And I want to make sure that we emphasize that to you over and over again today. But I think what's important is to talk about what's next. And so we want to leave you with these three things. We want to leave you with destination alignment. Okay, and what that is really aligning the private sector, the public sector, and the civic sector, okay? And doing the things that, when you have that alignment, will drive performance. Secondarily, sustainable development. And what sustainable development means is that's about product development. And tourism products should really marry people. It should marry planet, it should marry profit, it should marry policy. And then lastly is values-based marketing. How do we take our community's goals and put that into a framework that we all have alignment over, and then how do we deploy that worldwide? So these are the three things that we really want you to be thinking about as we have this conversation today. Now, why this is important as we think about tourism readiness in a 21st century economy is this. These are all highlights that are in this report, but I think there's a couple that we want to note. So if you look at FY22, I'm just kind of giving a snapshot of our visitor economy. It's a $958 million visitor economy, pretty significant. Now, to put that into a comparable, in 2019, which is the best year for tourism in the history of the Quad Cities, but also domestically, that was about $1.2 billion. So right there, a $242 million delta between 2019 and 2020. So these are things that we think about every day, but that visitor economy is so imperative, it's so critical. And these numbers are from 2020. Soon we will have 2021. And we'll talk about sort of some targets and some things along the way that we want to share. But the visitor economy is thriving. It's hopefully going to continue to grow, and it's here to stay. Now, during FY22, we generated $30 million in direct economic impact in group business alone. These are meetings, conventions, conferences, the things that our team does every day to sell, to market, to promote the destination. Multiple advertising campaigns and the things that we were pushing out from an advertising and promotional perspective generated over 18 million advertising impressions. We had earned media value of over 15 million in evaluation in terms of just what we're doing in terms of generating interest in stories, and these things are really critical. So the other thing I want to mention, and maybe give a little shout out to Ben, you see the Quad Cities International Airport and the activity out there. I think what's vital, and I'm not just saying this because he's my board chairman and my boss, but we need to always remember that our airport is a regional asset. We need it to be successful. We need to use it when we can, and I would strongly encourage you from a business community perspective to continue to do that. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, I think a lot of you have heard us talk about our business intelligence and how we're using this information to make data-driven decisions in advertising, marketing, and promotions. This data is really critical, but what's unique about it, and it's a little fun, it's a little big brother. I know Amy is very well aware of this information. You can use this to do geofencing and geolocation. And so at any given moment, we know who's in the Quad Cities. We know what they're doing, we know who they are, we know the points of interest that they're emotionally connected to, demographically. We understand that audience, and we can speak to them, so we can advertise to them moving forward. But if you look at FY22, we had 1.6 million unique visitors in the Quad Cities, 14 million visitors days spent in the QC, an average trip length of about 3.1 days. We'll talk about that in a minute. And all of this is from people that are beyond a 50-mile plus radius to the QC. That's not counting day trippers and all of those kind of things. This is 50-mile plus radius to the QC. So this information is really valuable to not only us understanding the profile of the audience that we're trying to target, but just being able to communicate this out to the community. So it's great information. So what you're looking at right now are source states and source DMAs. And what's unique about this, obviously Illinois and Iowa are always going to be the top two source states for us. Number 3 in the catbird seat currently is Wisconsin. Indiana is 4. Missouri is in there at 5. These are the states that are really within kind of a regional profile that are consuming the Quad Cities on a regular basis. Now, our source cities, a lot of that is pretty consistent with what we've seen over the last few years. Chicago, number 1. I think will continue to be for the long term. What's unique about Des Moines And communities like Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Dubuque, and that DMA, that actually flipped through the pandemic. And the reason for that is probably just due to proximity. Due to the fact that we are a drive-to market, people from those markets knowing that they could get here readily available. So we look at these things every day, and we have a presence in these markets. We're doing things to hopefully generate brand visibility, but it's important for you to understand this information. So this is where it gets a little granular, but I think it's important for a couple reasons. So what you're looking at right now, these are national numbers, domestic travel numbers, and business travel, and leisure. Okay, this is coming from the U.S. Travel Association and Tourism Economics. We work very closely with both state tourism offices. You'll see this massive dip, right? 2019 to 2020, the biggest system shock in humankind for travel and tourism. We're just now kind of getting back into some, sort of pace where we feel like we're moving in the right direction. Now, chiefly with domestic leisure, there was a lot of revenge tourism, right? People, when you get a bunch of squirrels and you put them in a cage and they're stuck, and then you lift it up, guess what? They're all going to go places. And that's kind of what happened here. Now, the challenge with domestic business travel is this. You've got group business, meetings, conventions, conferences. You've got things like transient business travel. We need Monday through Thursday to be successful. Okay, you cannot just be reliant on weekend business. We need those non-resident revenues flowing Monday through Thursday. So it's critical for the business community to encourage people to come here. We understand the efficiencies. We certainly understand the cost savings. We understand the ability to have virtual meetings. But in order to drive quality of life and quality of place, we need people here. So those two graphs are certainly very, very critical. Now, what you're looking at here, certainly we work very closely with our hospitality industry. We're very proud of the relationship that we have. There's roughly 7,000 hotel rooms within the Quad Cities regional profile. That includes Muscatine. There's roughly 80 or so hotel properties, including Muscatine, within the region. And what you're looking at right now is a trend line in the hospitality industry. All this information is from Smith Travel Research, STR. And this is a calendar year, January 1 of 22 to September 30th. So the things that we look at week to week to have a feel for how the market is doing is this. We look at hotel occupancy. You can see where it is growing. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You'll see average daily rate, really critical to our hospitality industry friends. You will see revenue per available room. You'll see overall hotel room revenue within that time period, $133 million. And so things are coming back, but there are system shocks that could happen again. We could have another pandemic. We could have a recession. We could have issues across the globe that impact travel and tourism. So we really focus on the data to understand how the market is performing and then how we can react to that moving forward. So let's kind of talk about the big picture and some of the things that we feel are critically important for you all to understand. These are really our long-range targets, okay? We talked about the $1.2 billion. We feel like we've got to get that back as a baseline, okay? If we can get that back to a baseline, that gives us a position to move that north. This 12 million visitor days spent. Now in FY22, Datafy shows us that we're at 14 million. Now, the 12 million is a baseline because it's going to ebb and flow with the things that we host from a group business perspective. So there's always going to be movements, and that's important to understand in our business. And certainly that's something that we feel that we need to consistently work on as we try to get more people here. The other data point, this $10 million in collective hotel motel tax revenues. Currently we're at $6.4 million within the entire system. The reason why that number is so critical, or why we need that hotel occupancy, why we need that tourism demand, is this. Those revenues are directly reinvested back into our community to improve quality of life and quality of life. So the more times we can create revenue, then that's the benefit for the residents, and our residents are our #1 customers. So the more we can try to do that, the better off we're gonna be. This minimum of 60% hotel occupancy, currently we're at 53.5. That is a stretch target, but that is something that I feel very strongly is achievable if we have the right tourism product, the right destination development strategy, the right sales and marketing platform to get us to that number. What's really interesting in our space is 50% of visitors said they had a very good perception of the Quad Cities prior to coming here. Once they come here, that number grows to 70%. So we just got to figure out a way to get people here. So once they're here, that high qualitative experience grows, and that's the feedback that we're getting. That's a marketing challenge that I think we need to work on overcoming. Why this is important, it's about jobs. Denise mentioned earlier 8,000 jobs within the tourism visitor economy space. We need to sustain those jobs. We need to create new ones. Only 53% of Quad citizens really understand what those numbers look like within the visitor economy space. So how do we further tell that story? This is an industry, the service level industry, and how people react to it is so important to what we do. So that's something we're going to continue to focus and harness some energy around. So some trends moving forward that we want to make you aware of. These are gathered literally from 800 different institutions and organizations like ours across the globe. Greater industry, community, and government alignment is really driving competitiveness and brand. So the stronger that we've got that alignment, the public sector and the private sector, the better off that we're going to be from a brand perspective. And everybody around the United States is going through this right now. How do you figure out that alignment? Number 2, visitors are demanding personalized information control and interaction. I cannot tell you how critically important this device is. I mean, the human relationship is the most important, but how we're putting out brand innovations that will impact tourism is really so vitally important to what we do. But that personalized touch, how are we connecting with customers? Because they want that control, they want that interaction. Travelers are seeking a personal enrichment and well-being and outdoor experiences, okay? The pandemic has showed us that. People gravitated to the outdoors. So we need to be thinking about what does our park system look like? What are the things that we want to do in the outdoor space? Because if visitors are looking for that, we know residents are looking for that, how do we put the right tools and the right investment in place to create some meaningful change in the outdoor space to create value for the people that are coming there? Now, this is where it gets a little fun. I know ad nauseum I talk about this. Braggability is, I don't even know if it's a word, but I use it. So only 48% of residents are willing to brag about living in the Quad Cities. That number gets painfully low the younger that you get, okay? That is, I think, an existential threat to our community. It's something that everybody in this room, I think, should take to heart, and we need to figure out how we can get that 48% north. Now, it's not realistic to flip that number to 84%, but quite frankly, in 3 years, if we are not at 60%, we got a problem, and we got to figure out some real solutions. So our charge today is how do we move that number from 48 to 60%? We really want to move the needle on that. And then how do we do the things for people that are under the age of 35? What is that tourism product experience? What does destination development look like to create value for those people so they're emotionally connected to the Quad Cities so that we can keep them here? And that's kind of what it's all about. Now, only 49%, less than half of the people that live here, for those of you in the room, feel that this is a destination worth visiting. Well, that's a challenge. How do we create solutions to fix that? How do we put a culture into motion where people are going to be able to talk about the Quad Cities in a meaningful way, in particular for people that are considering traveling, whether it's a Transient business, whether it's a meeting, convention, conference, whether it's leisure travel, whatever that is, we've got to change that. Again, the number goes drastically lower the younger that you get. So we've got a cultural divide here that we all need to work on, and it's vitally important if we're going to see change. Now, only 23% of previous visitors to the Quad Cities rated the QC positively for diversity. That is a problem. That is something that we need to think about how we bring that together as not only a data point that we can talk about, but do the things that are going to change that. People want to be in diverse, inclusive, welcoming communities, okay? And that's not just always just ethnicity. People, gravitate towards that. That is accessible tourism. Those are things, and thinking about how we are going to truly be a place that you want to belong and how do we work on fixing that. And so I would charge everybody in the room, public sector, private sector leaders, to be thinking about how we solve that. We got to think about deploying marketing messages and doing the things that we need to do to move our brand so that we can create some meaningful change. But then when people are here, how are they experiencing us? They want to feel comfortable in a place where people look like them, okay? How do we deliver upon that so we can fix that issue? And we firmly believe that's a challenge that we're up to do. So everybody remembers this day, right? December 1st, 2021. What an amazing day. Just the honor to be up there on the bridge. How do we create this culture of regional teamwork? The feeling and the looks in the eyes of the people on the I-74 bridge when that happened was such a watershed moment for us. How do we perpetuate that feeling so that we can shift culture? I mean, you're seeing people from Illinois and Iowa, right? You're seeing D's and R's, everybody coming together. And I think that's really the value of what tourism can bring to the table, because tourism really should be apolitical, and tourism should never be weaponized from a political perspective. So that cultural thing that we feel is one of the biggest issues in the Quad Cities, we've got to work on that together. So, team of the airport, thank you for this lovely aerial shot. No, these weren't all, I don't think these are all Ben's like flying over the Quad Cities pictures, but they could be, you never know. So our vision is to be an internationally recognized riverfront destination. That does not mean that we are not centrally focused of things that don't happen on the river from a tourism perspective, but this is our global asset, fourth largest river in the world. We all love it. It's something that we're proud of. How do we take all of the wonderful places up and down the river in all of the communities within the Quad Cities? And by the way, there's not just 5, there are 58 communities and the family of communities within our region. How do we create a plan to intertwine all of these wonderful municipalities and partners to create something that is meaningful, that will move our destination forward? So I'm very proud of the work that we've been trying to advance on this. I'm excited about our friends at Q2030, Kyle Carter in the room, and the team at the Chamber from a placemaking perspective. How do we rally around this as a community, private sector, public sector, come together to do the things that we want to do to make this a meaningful experience, and not just for visitors, but for residents, and opportunities for all? Our tourism master plan, you've heard us talk about it a lot. We launched it May 20. Everybody thought it was nuts because it was a couple months after the pandemic. But quite frankly, it has been the guidepost for us. It is our destination vision. It is our strategy. It is our tourism master plan. We've got 8 goals. We've got 17 core recommendations and 92 initiatives. That's a lot of work. That's not just owned by Visit Quad Cities, that's really owned by everybody in this room. And the more that we can invest and put some intentionality into this plan, the better off we're going to be.
In 2030, the Quad Cities is a proud, forward-thinking, visitor-centric region, connected by the storied Mississippi River and a shared love of local independent arts, culture, and creativity. This family of communities attracts young explorers and dreamers, investors and entrepreneurs, because it offers homegrown imagination and innovation, an eclectic music, art, culinary, sports, and entertainment scene, an original and authentic experience of one of the world's great rivers, and an open-minded Midwestern spirit that brings success within reach for all. People love the Quad Cities because they want to be a part of its growing, blooming, welcoming, and evolving energy and get closer to a place that's as genuine as it is quirky, as unexpected as it is energizing, and as deeply rooted as it is forever current.
All right, so Nancy Ballinger is the Vice President and General Manager of the Isle Casino Hotel Bettendorf and the Chair of the Tourism Master Plan Implementation Group of Advisors. Welcome. And Maria Ontiveros, President of Mercado on Fifth and the second Vice Chair of Visit Quad Cities, also recently named one of the Quad Cities 40 under 40. So welcome to both of you. I want to begin by working on that Quad Cities braggability score. So let's take a moment and talk about what you brag about when it comes to the Quad Cities. Nancy, I'll go to you first.
Well, the list is long, for sure. Is this on? Can you hear me? Is it good? All right, thank you. The list is definitely long, for sure. Our family of communities has so much to offer. I mean, we think about our global asset, the Mississippi River, right? I mean, that's just stunning, and there's so many exciting things happening with the Mississippi River. There's just, we're genuine, we're friendly. We hear that with people that come in. Oh my God, you guys are Midwesterners. You guys are really fun and friendly. So it's super exciting to hear those compliments when people come in. And there's just so many festivals and the restaurants and the breweries, just so many things going on. So, we're culturally fantastic as well with so many different options. So like I said, the list is long. But one of the things that, I think that Dave brought up today was, we've got to really be ourselves. We have to brag ourselves so that, we're like, hey, the Quad Cities is an awesome place to come because we're the residents here and we have to send that message out that we want people to come here. So there's a little bit of work to do there, but we've got so much to talk about.
Well, keep the party going. What do you brag about when it comes to the Quad Cities, Maria?
Well, although it's an obvious answer, I love to brag about the river, all of our rivers. My husband and I love to walk the bridges during the summer and go paddleboarding, kayaking, pontoon boat riding on the Rock River. We love to take out-of-town guests on the Channel Cat on the Mississippi during the summers and go down and look for bald eagles in the wintertime. Speaking of river amenities, gotta give a shout out to the River Bandits as an unpaid spokesperson. No, let's give a hand to Dave Heller. That stadium, Modern Woodman Park, I mean, there is not a better place to watch a baseball game. It's just an incredible amenity we have. Also, our Mexican restaurants. I love to brag about them. I don't know if people realize this, but Moline has more Mexican restaurants per capita than any other city in Illinois. That's pretty remarkable. And then our breweries, as you've heard today, we have 18 microbreweries on the Quad City Ale Trail. It's just phenomenal that our community is able to support that many local producers. So I'd love to brag about that.
All great things to brag about. Nancy, I'm going to go back to you. Dave introduced the Tourism Master Plan. We know it came out in May 2020. So here we are, end of 2022 already. Where does that plan really stand?
Well, first of all, I just, really am so excited to work alongside so many talented and committed community members because it truly has been a major team effort to work on that. And the implementation is so important to moving the community forward. And, it just takes a ton of people to be able to do that. So, one of the great things is that it's a long range plan. We want to go fast and we think there's some urgency of things that have to be done, and that's great, but there's also knowing that some of those things are going to take a little bit longer. But I think one of the big wins was the QC That's Where. We saw that today, right? So there's so many people using that. You see it in so many different locations, and it's really the first time. It was a recommendation in the plan to have Visit Quad Cities work with the chamber, and really the first time in history that those two groups, great groups, came together to make that happen. And I think there's a lot more things to happen with that. We're off and running, but there's a lot of things that have to be done, and I think, as Dave said earlier, we really have to own that in all of us in this room. There's a team of us that are working on that, but we really have to own that. And I'd like to get a big shout out to Dave and his team at Visit Quad Cities. They are doing some serious heavy lifting to make that all happen. So great job.
Yeah, it's huge. So as we talk about all of the things that make this a great place to live, those are all the things that make it a great place to visit. That thought has got to inspire your work with Mercado on Fifth.
It does. When we think about Mercado on Fifth from a visitor's perspective, it's hard to catch the event when we only have it 20 days out of the year, weather permitting. So as many of you know, we recently purchased and renovated a building where we intend to expand programming to be more of a consistent cultural amenity for residents and for out-of-town visitors, and provide more consistent opportunities for our vendors to sell. Recently, we haven't really kicked off the programming yet. It's not officially open, but we just held a holiday market last weekend, and we've had quinceanera dance practices inside, parade building, and we anticipate a lot of other cool programs in the future: indoor cooking classes, indoor concerts, indoor wrestling. So sky's the limit. And last week we also unveiled a mural that goes around 3 sides of the building, which you may have seen in the paper or may have driven by. But we hope that this artwork is something to engage with before the programming really kicks off, that it creates a sense of place and shows that the Quad Cities is a cool and welcoming place to be. And we also expanded our programming to include the Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead parade this year. And we had several people in the crowd that came from out of town, from Kewanee and Sterling and Chicago. So there's a lot of possibility to expand that for next year to get more people coming.
And Nancy, back over to you. What does the concept of destination programming really mean to you? You have a unique perspective on that.
Well, it means a lot of things, for sure. Whatever we do, I think in destination programming, as Dave has mentioned, is we've got to be collaborative, right? We've got to work together, and we've got to bring some things to implementation. And one of the things that I've always thought is, just something that is a real change maker is, it's our hotel motel tax. We know that that's the biggest funder within the Visit Quad Cities and what they're capable of doing. We have so many great facilities in the market. But what if we put together a group of folks, or whatever that looks like, to really understand what those facilities are like and what do we need? What is that need? What are those costs? How do we maybe go through that process and come out the other end where we could go bid on events or whatever that is that we're currently not hosting? There's another level of events that we know some markets are doing. So if we could do that, in maybe even like in the off season or the shoulder season, when we have all this hotel capacity and all this restaurant capacity, I just think it's one of the things that it's a win-win, right? It's a win for the businesses, it's a win for funding Visit Quad Cities, and that's one of the things that I'm pretty passionate about.
And it's a win for resident pride that's so, so important. And so how do you think Mercado on Fifth really builds that sense of resident pride?
Well, part of Mercado on Fifth's core mission is to inspire Hispanic cultural pride, but it turns out that residents, Hispanic or not, are really excited that an event like Mercado on Fifth exists in our community. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I'll share with you something from a blogger from Minneapolis. He said, "The scale of the market is astounding for a weekly affair. Between the sheer variety of vendors, the ambition of the made-to-order food, and the quality of the musical performances, it has the feel of a once a quarter or once a year kind of thing." But we're crazy enough to do it 20 weeks in a row. And I give a lot of credit to our vendors who are providing such a unique cultural experience. This year you were able to purchase cactus tacos on handmade tortillas, Colombian empanadas, Mexican street corn with hot Cheetos on top. We had vegan tamales and shaved ice with fresh pineapple syrups and fresh watermelon juice. Are we making you hungry? On the retail side of things, we had handmade leather boots and embroidered blouses, painted ceramics. So the vendors are really bringing unique products. And one of our core values is that everyone wins when people get an opportunity to show what you can do, or show what they can do. And our market provides an opportunity for underserved people in our community to share their talents. And we're all better because of it. Another reason that I think the Mercado inspires pride is the lineup, the music. Last year, this past season, our lineup was incredible. Almost every week we had an out-of-town banda or tambarazo or cumbia band. You cannot find a free Latin lineup of this caliber in many places outside of Mexico. It was very, very rare what we did. But you don't have to like the music to enjoy Mercado. And I think that's what inspires pride as well. It's a place for all people, all demographics and ages. It's a really inclusive space.
Maria, Nancy, thank you so much for being here today. Please do not go yet. Please do not go yet. Both of you were invited today because your work is so inspiring and it aligns so beautifully with the work of Visit Quad Cities. And so in recognition of all that you do for our community, I'd like to welcome Kai Swanson to the stage, immediate past chairman of Visit Quad Cities, and Ben Leichner coming back up as well.
We do have a special announcement to make. It's a recognition for today and moving forward for Visit Quad Cities. The annual Destination Impact Awards will recognize individuals or organizations that have made meaningful contributions to the Quad Cities regional destination success and achieved extraordinary outcomes. Now, our first ever recipients of this new award will go to two amazing community leaders who continue to lead, serve, and make a positive impact in the Quad Cities. And they don't know they're going to get this. This is a surprise, but we believe in efficiency. So, the first winner happens to be Nancy Ballinger. You can tell it was a surprise. She didn't know her scripting. She's supposed to stay right there. Nancy, seriously, your leadership and commitment to stepping up and taking charge on this tourism master plan, something that Visit Quad Cities will always be very grateful for. You continue to serve our destination in innumerable ways, not only leading the Isle Casino, but for all you do for so many organizations in the Quad Cities and for the gaming industry nationally and internationally. We all appreciate your leadership. So now, friends, would you join me in thanking and congratulating Nancy Ballinger? There are two awards. Our second recipient is none other than Maria Anaveras. Special personal pride. There are so many great things to say about Maria. Of course, we know congratulations are due for being one of the 40 under 40 recognized for leadership in our community, but also for everything, Maria, that you do for Visit Quad Cities. You really embody what it means to be a true Quad citizen. Your energy, your positive outlook on our community is simply infectious. We're so grateful to you and are excited about your continued leadership in our community. Mercado on 5th, and I have heard that Mercado is becoming a verb. We're Mercado in the Quad City. But Mercado on 5th has shattered all expectations and quite a few records. It's also created, as we noted, a reinvigorated sense of place for all of us, and we are so grateful for that. You are driving so much resident pride that we all need to take a page from the Maria Anaveras playbook. So friends, please join me in thanking and congratulating Maria Anaveras.
Okay, now you can get it. To keep the train rolling, Dave Harrell's coming back up to the stage. So are you comfortable with the idea of me calling you the head cheerleader of the Quad Cities? Is that a feel-good title for you?
You know, it's interesting, and you know, Ben has called me that before. I don't mind that title.
Yeah.
I think I'm proud to kind of wear that badge, but I think what's more important is for all of us to be cheerleaders for our community. And I think sometimes, you know, we might be perceived as just a cheerleader, but we're doing the heavy lifting too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the game. We're the quarterback on certain things. We're the strong safety, the punter. You never know. Like, it just depends. So I'm proud of that role. I don't think I'm going to put it on a business card. But I think we should all be cheerleaders for the place that we live and the place that we love. I think it's important.
Well, I am going to make you brag about the Quad Cities. What's one thing that you brag about when you're going off script?
I do better off script. I mean, that's just kind of my nature. But first, I want to brag on my team, and I want to brag on my board. I cannot tell you how difficult it was in our industry throughout the pandemic, right? Like, it was not fun. And everybody came to work every day. Our board was incredibly supportive throughout that time period. It's pretty recent, folks. And we banded and bonded together. And our board said, continue to do the things that we need to do, because that's what our mission says. We could have crawled in the basement and not done the work, but we did it. And the staff was purpose-led. They still are today. They worked so hard because they cared so much about the community. And so that is a big brag moment for me, because it's all about people. And if you don't have the right people around you, you're nowhere.
So it's only fair for me to offer my little brag moment. So,
well, it's your show.
Yeah, it is my show. Thank you for recognizing that. So my brag moment is one of my favorite places in the Quad Cities is the brand new Bittner Y there in downtown Davenport. And when you're up on that third level where all the treadmills, they face out onto the river. And so when you're there early in the morning, you get to see the big ships come and dock there at River Heritage Park. You got to see the construction of River Heritage Park as it was taking place all summer long. And so watching those ships roll up, I had no idea that you're part of the welcoming crew that gets on board and greets people personally in the Quad Cities. That's a really cool job.
Well, it is, and I think we should all note that our river cruise industry is part of our heritage. We the Celebration Bell and Twilight and American Queen, American Cruise Lines, and all of these Channel Cat. Everybody that's part of this family is important to us. And I think with the advent of Viking, what is unique about that is that is a global enterprise. And the fact that we are getting brand visibility in Vienna, we can't afford that, by the way. And so the ability to take the Davenport brand and the Quad Cities brand and amplify that across the world is a big deal. Plus, when you're on that ship, it's not a boat. Don't ever call American Cruise Lines, any one of these vessels, a boat. They are highly sophisticated, beautiful assets on our waterways. There are people from Australia, Great Britain, all over the United States. I don't care if they are here for 5 minutes, 45 minutes, a couple hours, or a day. Our opportunity is to think about what is our relationship with them while they're here. How do they feel about us? Because you never know, they could be a potential investor. They might be thinking about relocating a company. They might have a kid that's thinking about a college experience or whatever that is. So you never know who's going to be in your backyard. And our opportunity to kind of thread that needle and help deliver that experience for their customers and their guests is something that is a great privilege. So we're excited about the future. You're going to see more in that space, and I'm very bullish on it.
Well, so when I said earlier we'd be talking about the big picture of tourism, that's what this is. You say that tourism is the front porch for economic development. Those two are connected, and they have to be.
They do, and I think tourism leads to talent, leads to a variety of things, and that's not just a soundbite. I think our hopeful call to action here is to think about it holistically and how we're putting that alignment in the right place to figure out the future. Nancy kind of touched on it in a little bit, or a few minutes ago. We need to have a facilities question in the Quad Cities. We do. And that's not something that's going to be an overnight thing. That takes years. In Nashville, it took us 15 years to get a new convention center. We have to have those conversations now because we need to be thinking about 5 years, 10 years down the road if we want to be competitively positioned for non-resident revenue. So let's continue to have those conversations. Sometimes they're not easy conversations to have, particularly in multi-jurisdictional, bi-state areas like this. But I'll tell you what's fun for me. A lot of my colleagues around the country say, that seems really difficult. I don't know very many places that have the ability to leverage two states for incremental investment and resources that can flow into one regional economy. So that is a massive opportunity for us. That is not a weakness. So when I think about that, I think about our ability to work with Amy and Debbie Durham and Sylvia Garcia and Jane, all these wonderful people that we've got relationships with, but with an elected perspective and with those public sector leaders to be able to thread that needle to bring those dollars back into the Quad Cities. What a massive opportunity for us. So that's just a little bit of my perspective.
Well, and another opportunity is I didn't realize that the Quad Cities was at this perfect sweet spot, this mid-size that's really become attractive to people looking to host meetings and conferences.
Yeah, it is. I think for us, the mystery of the Quad Cities sometimes is a competitive advantage in our value prop and how we sell to meeting planners and event rights holders, and they might not have that familiarity with it, which sometimes is a good way as an entry point to have a broader conversation. But the fact that there's 37 million people here within 6-hour radius points, huge competitive advantage. We're a drive-to market. We need to work on airlift. There's a variety of things that we need to do, but that is something that I think how you harness that energy to bring that business back into our community is something we need to continue to do.
Okay, so energy. I mean, we've got a problem. That one slide that you showed that talked about how people are hesitant to brag about this place where they live, that's a problem. What's our deal, and how do we face that problem head on?
I don't know what the deal is. I firmly believe whether you're the CEO of John Deere, you lead the Arsenal, you lead IMEG or any one of our, driving large employer-based businesses, or if you're a frontline hospitality worker, everybody that can come together and sing up the same sheet of music about our destination puts us in a better position. And that's what it's really all about. So that cultural shift, that paradigm that we need to move is how do we get a culture that really believes in tourism, that it's so central to what we do every day, and that you never know who's going to be here, and how we get excited about that, and how we deliver this amazing Midwestern spirit and hospitality is the secret sauce. And so we need to use that. We're all ambassadors, we're all brand champions. It's something that we need to do in kind of our nomenclature and how we just behave as Quad citizens. And if we do that, I know that we will be more successful.
Can we have a little Oprah moment for a second? This is my Oprah moment, okay? What really keeps you up at night when you think about the work ahead of you?
A lot of things. I've got a puppy, a 6-year-old daughter, and a wife that just had rotator cuff surgery, so God bless her, and I'm thinking about. Probably what keeps me up at night is I firmly believe that we are a sleeping giant. I firmly believe that we can do a lot more in this space if we have the right investment, the right tools, the right partners, the right alignment, everybody coming together to realize that objective and put those goals and tactical things that we all need to do into motion. And so for me, it's getting people to believe that tourism empowers our regional destination. And that it's more than just something that, okay, yeah, you get a visitor center and people might come in and, say hello and they're off to their merry way. I call BS on that. It is so much more powerful than people get it credit for. And I think you're seeing that all around the United States. you're seeing destinations, you're seeing local governments, you're seeing state government. People are understanding how important it is, because when we went through the system shock and the pandemic happened, everybody, like, it impacted everybody. Small business, your emotional well-being, your soul, like all of these things. Human beings are meant to travel. Human beings are meant to gather. They're meant to have experiences. And so I desperately desire that for the Quad Cities, that we can get everybody excited about that future. I see it clearly. Our board sees it. Our team sees it. We just want to get everybody in the same ship and move it down the path that we need to have.
Not the same boat.
Not
same
the
ship.
same boat,
Okay. Well, let's end this on a high note. Let's talk about ways to energize people, because every single person in this room can serve as a brand ambassador. How do they do that?
Well, I think there's a variety of things. Just connect with us. Visit quadcities.com or social media platforms. On your phone, text Visit QC to 38314. Get content. Learn about who we are, what we are. Get connected to the mission. Do whatever you can. Invest. Support. We got to create this community benefit funding goal for tourism. Become a certified tourism ambassador. That's easy peasy. We got 58. Let's have hundreds, right? Let's prioritize tourism. Let's put it into a different stratosphere. And if we do that, I know we'll be successful.
Dave, thank you for letting me be here to share the story of tourism in the Quad Cities. Thank you all for being part of this conversation.
Thank you, Denise. We appreciate you very much today. Thank you all for coming.